Okay, sit down, because what I'm about to tell you is next level wild. Meghan Markle? Yeah, that Meghan, Duchess turned celebrity turned activist, or whatever she's calling herself these days, is neck deep in a scandal that's not just messy. It's been sealed by the California courts. As in, locked up, vanished, off limits like it never happened. And guess who's tangled up right in the middle of it? Her mother, Doria Ragland. Oh, this isn't just some family squabble. It's a full-on mystery that's got legal experts scratching their heads and the rest of us whispering behind closed doors. So here's the deal. There's this sealed labor case in California, and somehow Doria and Meghan are right in the thick of it. Sealed as in so locked down even high-level attorneys can't peek inside. Like Buckingham Palace's wine cellar after a state visit? Yeah, that's sealed. But wait, it gets weirder. This case, it's connected to a so-called caregiving company Doria apparently runs. A company called Loving Kindness in Your Care Management. Sounds sweet, right? Like something out of a Hallmark movie. But don't let the name fool you. It's sketchier than a back alley deal. No office, no employees, no business license on public file, just Doria, her iPhone, and a whole lot of cash. Like literal cash. No credit, no bank transfers, no trace. She runs everything herself. Reaches out directly to potential clients, only the super rich ones, mind you, and decides whether they're good enough to even get her time. No receptionist, no team, just Doria on her phone asking one thing: where do you live? Because if you're not in Santa Barbara or some lush Beverly Hills zip code, bye. Not interested. And here's the kicker. The official paperwork for the company has this shady little clause buried in it, basically hinting that if there's a labor judgment against anyone at the top, well, it's probably still pending appeal. Translation? Someone's covering their tracks real slick. A legit business would just say, no judgments, period. But this, it's like someone knew the heat was coming and tried to preemptively throw cold water on it. Oh, and you know what happened when legal insiders tried digging into the labor case? They found it, or the ghost of it. The file exists, the case was real, but every single page sealed shut, black hole status, as if the public has zero right to know what's really going on. And now the cherry on top, apparently the order to seal it didn't just come from a random judge. Nope, it was reportedly sealed by Governor Gavin Newsom himself. The governor, why is he involved in a labor dispute involving one woman and a phone? You remember him, right? The same guy who went on camera defending Meghan and Harry's Archewell Foundation when it got into a mess with missing filings. He brushed it off like it was just a paperwork error, just an oopsie. But come on, Archewell has seen millions flow through it, and not a single person can tell you where it all ends up. The accounting? Murky. The transparency? Non-existent. Now add in Doria's shadowy little company, the sealed case, and Meghan's suspiciously timed fortune, and tell me this isn't a tangled web. But wait, oh, there's more. So now you're probably wondering, how the hell does Doria go from yoga instructor and part-time social worker to a woman allegedly worth over $9 million? Because just a few years ago, she couldn't even pay the property taxes on her home. No business boom, no book deal, no big inheritance. Oh, unless you count the house she got after her dad mysteriously died. Yeah, I said it, mysteriously. There are whispers about Doria's father's death being, let's say, unclear. And then suddenly, boom, Doria's rolling in money, quietly, elegantly, just enough under the radar, no headlines, no Forbes cover, but somehow she's bawling in the background while Meghan's fame hogs the spotlight. And guess what's even more disturbing? That caregiving business, the one that doesn't seem to have any legal footprint, is exactly the kind of operation that could be used to take advantage of the vulnerable. Think about it, wealthy, elderly clients, isolated, few family members, maybe no one checking their accounts. Doria slides in as their care manager, and suddenly she's got access to their lives, their money, and if it's true, their legal power of attorney. That's no small thing. That's a direct line to someone's estate, bank accounts, and even medical decisions. And if you're wondering how she'd pull that off, oh, it just so happens her go-to lawyer is a guy named Rick Gino, a name that's been floating around elite conservatorship circles for years. Not just regular legal work, we're talking Britney Spears level control setups. You starting to see the pattern here? Then toss Meghan into this cocktail of secrecy and timing. She's not just some actress who stumbled into the royal family. Behind the glam and the Netflix deals, Meghan's got a sharp legal instinct. She's all about structuring things, quietly setting up domain names, trademarks, companies before the cameras even started rolling. Before the wedding bells in 2018 even rang, she and Doria were laying foundations, literally laying foundations like Archewell. And let's talk dates because they matter. May 2019, right after Archie's birth, when everyone was distracted, was when the money move began. New businesses formed, funds redirected. It wasn't flashy, it was smart. All happening quietly while the world obsessed over royal baby photos. Suddenly, Suddenly there's speculation. Maybe a client or more likely their family figured something out. Maybe they noticed weird withdrawals, missing funds, legal paperwork that didn't make sense, something big enough, serious enough to trigger a labor dispute or worse. And it all leads back to Doria's company. But instead of letting that case play out in court like any other labor complaint, what do? They seal it. They shut it down, buried it like a scandalous royal love letter. Let that sink in. And Gavin Newsom? He's just out here sealing cases like he's working for the royal family himself. This is a man who already caught flack for disappearing $100 million from California wildfire relief. So why is he jumping to defend Archewell? And now Doria. One word: connections, Hollywood, politics, royal hangovers. Meghan and Harry might have stepped away from the throne, but the influence still there, still powerful, still useful. You really think a governor gets involved in some no-name labor case for no reason? Please. All right, deep breath, because we're just getting to the part where the whispers turn sinister. So now we've got a sealed court case, a shadow company, a mom who skyrocketed from yoga mats to multi-million-dollar status, and a duchess with impeccable timing and access to everything from domain names to donation pipelines. But it's not just shady, it's starting to look like a blueprint. Let's talk control, because when you operate a business that targets the elderly, you're not just giving sponge baths and vitamins. You're stepping into people's lives, their homes, their finances, especially when they're loaded and lonely. Doria's so-called care clients weren't just getting visits, they were getting vetted. If you didn't live in an elite zip code, forget it, she wasn't coming. And that's exactly the type of setup that gives you power, real power, the kind no one talks about. Power of attorney, conservatorship rights, maybe even inheritance leverage. You could rewrite someone's life from the inside, you could access bank accounts, make decisions, and no one would even blink because you're the trusted caregiver. And behind that, a legal team with ties to exactly those types of conservatorship setups? You think that's a coincidence? Now zoom out. Meghan, while the world's still swooning over her interviews, her docuseries, her podcast dreams, is building a fortress of protection around her entire life. Every time scrutiny gets too close, boom, silence, a pivot, a PR moment, and somehow no one ever really gets answers. That labor case? It was the crack in the wall. For a brief moment, something slipped. A legal file that shouldn't have existed, with a judgment too serious to ignore, until it vanished. 1 second, it's in the database. The next? Gone. Scrubbed from every public record. Court insiders said even they couldn't get access, and these are people who read lawsuits like bedtime stories. One lawyer actually came out and said, "I've never seen a judgment this buried that didn't involve federal orders." That's terrifying, because if this isn't just a regular labor complaint, if we're talking financial abuse, exploitation, maybe even fraud, then the silence makes perfect sense. And that silence? It's not just from the courts, it's from everyone. No court clerks, no press releases, no clarifications, not even one of those classic "there is no wrongdoing" PR statements. Just nothing. The kind of nothing that screams cover-up. And who's still cashing in through all of this? Doria, for starters. Her wealth keeps growing, and no one can trace how. Meghan, meanwhile, continues expanding Archewell, signing deals, talking about authenticity and healing and motherhood, while in the background the whole operation is structured like Fort Knox. And while all this is happening, no one's talking about the people who may have actually been hurt. Vulnerable clients, elderly people with no relatives, quiet bank accounts, paper trails that end at Doria's iPhone. This isn't just gossip. This is something that, if true, could be criminal. And yet, none of it makes headlines. Because when you've got that kind of fame, that kind of storybook image wrapped around you, it's like armor. Meghan could walk into any studio in Hollywood and be treated like royalty. Politicians still line up for photos. She's untouchable. And in her shadow, Doria's been building something just as untouchable, just quieter. But here's the thing about silence. It doesn't last forever. People are noticing, not just the press, but insiders, clients, relatives, former employees, legal assistants. One push, one leak, one bold whistleblower, and the whole thing could blow open. Because no matter how tightly you seal a case, the truth has a way of slipping out. All right, now hold on, because here's where it gets real. That spotlight, it's starting to flicker. People are beginning to ask the questions that should have been asked a long time ago. Reporters are circling, whistleblowers are whispering, and if even one of them pushes hard enough, if even one former client or insider decides they've had enough, then this whole facade could collapse. Because when you build an empire on secrets, it only takes one truth to bring the whole thing down. And when it does, the people who worked hardest to protect themselves will have the most to lose.